feeling stuck in complex trauma. So I was looking at my YouTube today and I got this really nice message from a woman named Tiffany on YouTube. In the comments, she wrote the wisdom and alignment, and then she put the little heart emoji there. And she said, I'm so grateful for these videos because I realize I have to go back and align. I have cptsd, and I still go through bouts of dissociation causing me to miss valuable information. I'm trying so hard to evolve, but trauma and its reactions have such a hold on me that I can't think until damage has been done. Almost like my thinking part of the brain is severely delayed while I black out and react. So the way Tiffany feels is actually accurate, a good, accurate description of what it's like to be a traumatized mind or in trauma mindset, where it feels like that thinking, intelligent, wise part of the brain is really slow to come online, or it feels like it doesn't show up when you need it. And instead you're reacting, usually emotionally, usually instinctually. And when you're reacting emotionally and instinctually, you're in survival mode. And that trauma mode, that survival mode of the brain became activated because of the trauma you've experienced. And if you've gone through multiple traumas, complex trauma, then you've experienced trauma after trauma after trauma. And so it becomes difficult to come out of the beliefs, the schemas that cause you to have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, such as a belief that you cannot trust anyone ever because you have been traumatized so many times. It's understandable that someone who's gone through as much trauma as you may come to that conclusion. But complex post-traumatic stress disorder is curable. It can be healed. In order to heal it, we have to be able to change the beliefs, the schemas, and the behaviors that are causing us to be disordered and causing us to get traumatized all the more so, because we can actually end up going out into the world acting and emoting and showing up as someone who's actually inviting more trauma, more assaults, more attacks, more getting taken advantage of. We have to learn how to change our behavior in a way that is, one, authentic to who we truly are, so we're no longer wearing a mask or just people pleasing, and two, how to have the proper beliefs and understanding of the world in the way it is, and understanding of ourselves in the way we truly are. For instance, one of my healed clients said, Roman, the process wasn't easy. But when you said that I'm just like everyone else, it was like something clicked at a certain point, and I realized I'm just like everyone else. No one is more superior to me. No one is inferior to me. I am like everyone else. And that changed my way of interacting with the world and made it so that now I understood and could see everything clearly. I could finally break out of that trauma mindset. And so we know that you can have the same success as she has because many people have. By going through my trauma program, people have been able to reach a state of healing where they no longer have the symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder within 12 weeks, sometimes more, sometimes 16. But much depends on your efforts to take advantage of the resources that are being made available to you. So how can you get out of that trauma mindset if you feel stuck? Because you can get to a point where you feel like I can't even think of anything good about my life because you're just so bogged down by the negativity. You can get to a point where you feel like I can't think of anything good about my spouse. I can't think of anything good about my job. You can get to a point where you feel like you can't control your emotions. You feel like you're a prisoner to the emotions. Or you may feel like you can't explain your emotions. So whatever you're feeling, you know it's not good, but you're just suffering, and you've been suffering for so long that you lose the ability to articulate clearly, okay, here's what my suffering is. You may be at the point where you feel such a lack of hope that you would almost say, well, I just prefer for things to be like this because I'm used to things being this way. This is what I'm used to. So I give up. But in reality, no one wants to continue to suffer. No one wants to live in the rumination and the repetition of all of the worst moments of their life and all of the trauma. No one wants to continue to feel in a state of depression or sadness, to feel like they're on the brink of death, like they want to give up. No one wants to stay there. So how do we get unstuck out of this trauma mindset, out of this life of self-sabotaging, or feeling like Tiffany felt, where she said that the reactions have such a hold on her, it's like she can't think until it's too late and the damage has already been done. How do we get out of the trauma? Well, we have to understand that the brain gets changed by trauma. So that's why it feels like you're stuck, because there has been a biological change inside of the body. The brain itself alters, where the amygdala, the trauma response, the fight, flight, freeze response of the brain has become hyperactive. And because it's so quick to come online and so hyper reactive, that now feels like it's taken over. And the slower part of the mind, which is the wiser part of the mind, the cortex of the brain, is now deactivated. And so it doesn't seem to come online when we need it. And so we feel like we can't control our emotions, but the cortex is responsible for controlling the emotions. And it feels like we can't think logically, but the cortex is responsible for thinking logically and analytically. So how can we get our wise mind reactivated and get out of the trauma mindset? And this is the most important thing you have to remember. The brain has something called neuroplasticity, which is a big fancy way of saying your brain situation ain't permanent. It is not a permanent state of mind. So the way your brain has changed because of trauma, plasticity means it's malleable. It can change. It can be remolded. So if you want to get out of feeling stuck, you just need to access the neuroplasticity of the brain and change the brain. By changing the brain, you will be unstuck. This is highly possible. I do it in my work every single day. In fact, we should be accessing neuroplasticity every single day. It's all very scientific and somewhat simple. There's a chemical that's released called acetylcholine, which gives a message to the neurons in the brain, particularly the nuclei basalis, and indicates to the nuclei basalis, we're going to make a change right now. And then while we're sleeping, we're going to mark this change and actually make a long-term change to the brain. So what does all that mean? That means that the brain can change and it will react to your efforts to change it. You can actually activate change in your brain. Now, many trauma survivors, and I see this on my TikTok account, they'll jump in and they'll say, don't worry, you can change. I've changed. It only took me 25 years of therapy, and then I was able to change. And I'm just like, wow, thank you for your message of hope. But at the same time, holy smokes, we can do better than that. It doesn't have to take 25 years to change your brain out of trauma mode. Think about it. Person can get PTSD after one traumatic event, something they witnessed or something that happened to them. So the brain can change instantaneously. So if your brain can go into trauma mode instantaneously, then guess what? It can come out of trauma mode quickly as well. It doesn't have to take you 25 years to heal. It will not have to take you 25 years to heal. The brain changes fast. That's what neuroplasticity is all about. It's the brain's ability to learn new things very quickly. People do not understand how fast the brain can learn, change, adapt. Even deep-seated beliefs can change extremely quickly. It does not take your brain long. You have a brain that is not broken. It is just in trauma mode. I repeat, your brain is not broken. It's working properly, because when you go through a trauma, you are supposed to go into trauma mode. That's what the brain is supposed to do. The trauma part of the brain is supposed to react to trauma. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Those are what you're supposed to do when you're in an emergency situation to keep yourself safe. So you're having a normal reaction to abnormal events. What was broken was the parenting that you were raised under. That's what's broken. Your parents were inadequate. Your caregivers were inadequate, or the circumstances that you grew up in were inadequate. Maybe the parents were good parents, but they were just sick. Something was wrong with them, or they weren't there, they weren't available, or they died, and so you felt abandoned. It's the trauma, it's a traumatic event that is to blame. It is a traumatic event that is broken. Or the circumstances you grew up in that are broken, not your brain. Your brain is beautiful. It's working properly. You just must utilize it properly. And that's what we're going to learn today. How to unstick the stuck mind, how to utilize the brain properly, how to heal the brain. And again, this does not have to take 25 years. It doesn't have to take 12 years. It can be quite quickly. Your mind can learn quite quickly, even if you are older, right? Because you see, an elderly person can get up and they can watch the news every single day and they know exactly what's going on in the world, despite the fact that they're elderly. Why? Because their brain can still learn new things. They know what's going on. They know who the president is, and they know that there's COVID. In fact, let's use COVID as an example of the plasticity of the brain. When there was a mask mandate, and it was said, okay, now anytime you go into a public place, you got to have a mask on your face. It didn't take the brain years to learn that you have to put a mask on your face. You didn't go to the store without your mask and see everyone else wearing masks and then say, what's going on here? Why does everyone have something on their face? I don't, wait a second, I can't, did I learn that there was something happening in the world? It's so difficult for my brain to learn something new. I can't change it. Wait, no, it didn't take that long. If you forgot your mask out of force of habit, the moment you saw someone else with a mask, you said, oh, and everything came back to you in that moment. You realized, oh yeah, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How do you know? Well, you learned it. How'd you learn it? Yesterday. You're watching the news. You're talking to your friends about it. How fast did it take for you to learn that the world was no longer normal? It's in a pandemic. Instantaneously. It doesn't take long for the brain to learn. When they lifted the mask mandate, how long did it take you to learn that you don't have to wear a mask in public? Instantaneously. You just stopped showing up with the mask. You may have had a force of habit, but as soon as you saw everyone else didn't have their mask on, you remembered, oh yeah, the mandate's been lifted. Just like that, the brain learns very quickly. Yes, we have force of habits. That's what makes us feel like we're not in control. The force of habit, the autopilot of the mind, which is the subconscious mind doing its job. It handles things without you having to consciously think about them all the time. It's great. Subconscious mind handles walking for you. It handles eating for you. It also handles immediate responses for you. But when you bypass the immediate response, then you can go into the cortex and you can get into the thinking part of the brain. You have to bypass the immediate response system of the brain. How do you bypass the immediate response system of the brain? Here's a very simple trick. Wait. Slow down before you react to something. If it's not life or death, if it's not a snake in the grass, if it's not someone who's coming to attack you, Then pause. Use the rule of 7 seconds. And what will happen? 5, 6, 7, the conscious mind will come online. It's a little bit slower, but man, it makes better decisions. Give your conscious mind, the cerebral cortex, time to engage. And then once it engages around 6, 7 seconds, it starts thinking all types of wisdom and it starts leading you in the right direction. So just like on a ship, there needs to be order. You can't have every man on board as the captain. The army doesn't run where every guy is the squadron leader. There's got to be one captain, one general. Someone's got to be in charge. So if you've got 2 parts to the mind, then one part needs to be in charge. You won't feel confusion when you stop allowing the emotional mind to also be in charge when really the logical mind is supposed to be running things. Your logical higher thinking, the wise brain, that needs to be the leader of the self. That needs to be the leader of the mind. That is you in your conscious form actually focusing and thinking things out. You need to be the leader of the self. Once you're the leader of the self, all of a sudden you're analyzing, you're critical in your thinking, you're able to strategize, you're able to think things out, and you're talking to yourself the way you would talk to your son or the way you would talk to your daughter. You're parenting yourself. And when you are learning to parent yourself, to speak to yourself as someone you care about, you're out of that trauma system and you're now into wise thinking, your higher self. You're actualized. And if you follow the prompts of the higher self, you listen to yourself. Okay. So yourself is saying, hey, don't call him back. Don't go there. Don't go back to that job. Put in your 2 weeks notice. He's telling you what to do, or she's telling you, this is how you got to handle business. Listen to the higher self. And you will be in all types of alignment. It doesn't take the brain long to learn or to change. If you get a new car, you don't walk out into the driveway and start freaking out at the new car in your driveway because you couldn't remember. What in the world? Whose car is this? No, you're excited. You have a new car. That's my new car. I drive a new car now. You may forget momentarily, but then you remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. I have a new car. That's great. So think about your ability to learn and to change instantaneously. You can change your beliefs. You can change your perceptions instantaneously. And your beliefs and your perceptions are the things that need to change in order to change how you feel. Because all emotions stem from perception. So if you want to get in control of the emotions, become a pro at changing your perception of the situation. So what situations do you need to change the perception of right now in your life? You might have some things you're thinking of right now in your life that you need to change your perception on. Some things that you've been getting really upset about. One client was upset when she got 2 letters, 2 colleges that she applied to. Both of them were accepting her, but she was upset. Why? Because her perception of the situation was, I'm not going to get to go to the college I want because my mom's going to want me to go to her college. Instead of being happy that she got 2 letters of acceptance, her way of looking at it made her actually upset. In fact, she felt like she lost herself as a result. One client needs to sell their home, or they need to get a mortgage in order to buy out the other co-owner of the house. These are 2 choices, 2 options that they have on the table. Anxiety is stopping them from wanting to move forward with applying for the mortgage. Why? It's perception. It's the way they're looking at the situation. Because they feel like if they get denied for the mortgage, their perception, which is the spotlight focused on what one part that we're looking at, the perception is, if I get denied, then I have no choice. but to sell. Instead of thinking, cool, I own 50% of a house. If I sell, then I get the value up to 50% of this house. That's cool. I'll exercise my option to apply for the mortgage, but I can get the value of the house. It comes down to perception. Your beliefs get maladapted in childhood when you're raised in a household where you're deprived of your emotional needs. One of your beliefs is, oh, I don't matter that much, because you cared for your relatives, you cared for your family members, and you're like, man, if I just take care of them, if I just protect them, then that's fine. So it doesn't matter what happens to me. That little belief, it doesn't matter what happens to me, makes you walk into abusive relationship after abusive relationship, after assault, after poor job, bad job with bad bosses, and it's bad relationship after bad relationship. Why? Because you had that little thought in the back of your mind, that belief, I don't care what happens to me. It doesn't matter what happens to me. Then we don't eat well. Then we don't take care of ourselves. But when we change the belief, I do care what happens to me. I'm important. I'm as important as everyone else. If we really believe that, it changes. It's a whole game changer. Because if we start taking care of ourselves the way we take care of everyone else, we are cured of our people pleasing, our complex trauma. We have to learn to care for ourselves the way we care for everyone else. And we're great at caring for other people, by the way. Us empaths are fantastic. We're nurses, doctors, teachers, just total caretakers. We're taking care of the elderly. We're taking care of our family. Many of you are taking care of your parents and your children, but you just forget to take care of yourself. That's the only problem. So even if you have to take a little away from them in order to bring yourself in, but you're an equal partner, right? So you got to give yourself the same level of care. We have to change our beliefs. We have to change our perceptions. And now we've changed ourselves out of that trauma mindset, and we've gotten into the healing mindset. We are no longer surviving. We are thriving. Why? Because we've started reviving the highest part of our mind, the conscious mind, the cerebral cortex. So there's a neuroscientist by the name of Dr. Huberman. He says that there's two things you can do to activate immediate neuroplasticity so you can get those instant changes. He says that when people use focus and urgency, when they apply focus and urgency to what it is that they want to learn and they want to change, they can get instant results where they're changing the brain in a matter of days instead of a matter of years. Yes, you can heal from complex trauma in a matter of days, maybe weeks, but it does not have to take you years to heal complex trauma. It does not have to take you so long. Even if you are an adult, if you're over the age of 50, it doesn't matter the age, the brain is the brain. And the brain is plastic. It has the ability to change. So utilize Dr. Huberman's advice, apply focus and urgency to a situation. So how do we do this? Let's take that first one, focus. What I talk about is meditation. Meditation is key to your ability to change the brain. Meditation, when I talk about meditation, I'm not talking about crossing your legs and trying to think of nothing. The brain is made to think. Okay, meditation used properly is exercise for the mind. Just like your body needs exercise, your mind needs exercise. So meditation is exercise for the mind. Don't try to not think. That would be like going to the gym and just sitting on the floor the whole time. Don't do that. You need to exercise the body. You also need to exercise the mind. How do we exercise the mind? By purposely using it to focus. So the opposite of trying to clear yourself of thoughts, you're trying to focus your thoughts. That's how you meditate. Focus the mind. The mind, the brain, is a flow of energy going over the canopy of the brain. They can see it in the brain scans. When you learn to focus that energy, that's when amazing things start happening. That's where the power is, in your ability to focus the flow of brain energy. So focus your energy in meditation on what it is you would like to learn or what it is you would like to change. And that's going to be your key. Meditation. Let me show you how to do this once in an exercise. We'll do it together. Okay, grab your pen or your pencil or your magic marker. Grab whatever you can write with. And then, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 15 seconds to write down the first things that come to your mind. So this is a speed test. Okay, so you got 15 seconds. I'm going to tell you what it is you got to write down, but you only got 15 seconds to get it down, and you have to write 3 of these. So we need 3 things that you will do. Okay, you only got 15 seconds. Let me pull up my clock here so I can time this out. Okay, perfect. So here's your prompt. You just got $1 million tax-free. What are the first 3 things you do? 15 seconds on the clock right now. Go. 14, 13, go. Right. First thing you do, what are you going to do with $1 million? 3 things. Five seconds. Okay, time's up. Put the pen down. Okay, so those are the first three things you came up with. So what we've done there is we've made decisions without meditation. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to compare this with having a little time to think. All right, so now we're going to focus the conscious mind. We're going to focus the flow of the brain on this change in our life. You've received $1 million. Now you have 60 seconds. What are the first 3 things that you're going to do with that $1 million? You have 60 seconds on the clock. Take your time and really think this out now. Go. Ten seconds. All right, awesome job. So you don't have to show your results to anyone, but I want you to analyze the results right now. Do you notice that your 60-second results are a little bit better than your 15-second results? There might be some slight differences in what you came up with when you really thought about it, right? That's the power of focusing the mind, of meditating. When we slow down, we allow the cerebral cortex to come on and we start coming up with wiser ideas. Now imagine if you just gave yourself that extra time, those extra few seconds for all of your decisions in life, for the way that you responded to your spouse, the way that you spoke to your children, the way that you spoke even to your own self, and what you did for yourself when you chose what you were going to eat and how you were going to show up. Focus, meditation gives us results. When we focus our mind on what it is we want to change, when we meditate, we can actually change the brain. You're the same person coming up with different answers to the same question, just based on time and meditation, focus of the mind. It's very powerful. Utilize the power of meditation to change the brain. The other thing Dr. Huberman talked about was urgency. When we have urgency, it releases acetylcholine because norepinephrine, which is adrenaline, gets released into the system. And it can be helpful to us if it gets released in the right amounts. Our adrenaline can really move us to positive results in our life. So think about your situation and changing your mind, changing your beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions by having a sense of urgency along with what you want to learn. And that will help your neuroplasticity because you need a little bit of emotional significance. So anything you like to remember, you have to ascribe emotional significance to that thing and you'll remember it better. Anything you like to learn, you have to ascribe some emotional significance to that fact or to that aspect, and then you will learn it better. And this is how we hack into immediate neuroplasticity. We apply urgency, that is focusing, meditating, and giving it emotional significance, value, a sense of urgency. When your life depends on something, you learn it faster. If you need to learn a language in order to eat, you will learn that language quicker. So we have to have that sense of urgency about what we're doing. If you want to retrain the subconscious mind, which is the automated system, that's the one that's got you doing things on autopilot. But it's pretty cool when you teach it to do things that are good habits. You just need to use repetition, consistency, along with patience, just like the way you train an animal. And that's how you train the subconscious mind. So if you're new here, the training program that we've had that's been successful for those who want to heal from complex trauma within 12 weeks to 16 weeks is number one, cutting out toxic people. Number two, 30, 30, 30. That's 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of meditation, 30 minutes of edification. 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of meditation, 30 minutes of edification every single day. These are the basics of just taking care of the apparatus of the mind. Your mind needs exercise because it releases blood flow to the brain, which helps with the neuroplasticity. You have to be exercising every day on some level, even lightly, at least 30 minutes a day on average of exercise. You need 30 minutes a day of meditation. It doesn't have to be all at once, but it needs to be a minimum of about 30 minutes a day on average. This is focusing the mind, as we did in our exercise, to think. That was 1 minute of meditation, and you come up with all types of results. You need 30 times that each day to be in your wise mind. 30 minutes of edification. Edification is what you read, watch, and listen to that's going to elevate you. That's going to make you smarter, wiser, put you in your best self. I recommend, if you're in healing, to watch my videos on YouTube every day. They're 30 minutes each. It's the perfect amount. You can listen to them while you're driving to work. You can multitask edification. I pump audio books into my ears at 2 times the speed while I'm playing basketball or tennis or volleyball or riding or driving. I'm just pumping them in 2 times the speed. I can get through about a book a week. This is edification, elevating the mind with what's going to be educational, inspirational, beneficial to the inner self. 30 minutes a day exercise, 30 minutes meditation, 30 minutes edification. And then if you're in healing, be at these meetings. We have these meetings twice a week, and do your private sessions with me as well. And all of this combined together will help to awaken the conscious mind, and it will change the brain. It changes the brain so that it's now pulsating and working in its higher self in the canopy, and it's deactivating the amygdala, which is the survival response. Your emotions are a communication from the subconscious to the conscious self. We should listen to them, as in hear them, but we should not follow them. The emotions are not the leader of yourself. Do not follow your heart. Follow your brain, your conscious mind. Be wise. And most of all, have hope. Because your trauma does not define you. It is something that happened to you. Your choices in life are what define you. Make the choice to heal.